Ladies and gentlemen, I am feeling the passion. Who would have thought that just a few weeks into the season, a video like this would actually be made? I'd feel good and excited to be talking about something as small as this, but whilst also highlighting how the Vancouver Canucks in the process dodged a bullet. Take a look at the announcements that made headlines yesterday. GM Patrick Allvin announced yesterday, and I say yesterday because the tweet was from yesterday, that Jack Studnicka has been placed on waivers for the purpose of assignment to the Abbotsford Canucks in the AHL. Now, I had this entire plan, and I was saying, okay, Jack Studnicka going on waivers, this is not really the biggest deal in the world, but it's something that kind of gets me a little bit scared because Studnicka has been an alright player. I've actually liked his game this year, and if he ends up getting claimed by some other team at the bottom of the NHL, I'd honestly be pretty sad. But we did have ourselves the bullet dodged. Studnicka, Vancouver on waivers yesterday. Studnicka clears about 25 minutes ago. Now, we have the reasons as well. We know why this happened, and it was speculated yesterday as to why this could have been the case, but before we get into that, I wanted to just talk about Studnicka in general, because if there's anybody out there that I feel deserves significant props for how they've come into the Canucks system this season, it is Jack Studnicka. Now sure, the guy has 1 goal in 5 games, he's on pace for 14 goals and 0 assists. Not the best point production in the world, I'll admit, but Studnicka just definitely came into this training camp and preseason with a chip on his shoulder. He was always a tweener in the Boston system, Boston Providence, eventually getting sent over to Vancouver, 8 points, 47 games played. I'll admit, Studnicka last year, not really the best. Like, more so of just a regular dud in the bottom 6. You remember the meme that everybody talked about with Vancouver, the sea of Granlunds, all these random guys that were in and out of the bottom of the lineup that didn't really have too much of a significant impact? Jack Studnicka kind of reminded me of that type of a profile, just a bottom 6 guy who wasn't amazing. 24 years old, so of course he is still young-ish, drafted back in 2017, so he's the same age as Elias Pettersson. So there still is much more time for Studnicka to improve his game and become better, etc., etc. But what happened in this year's offseason was incredible. Rick Tocchet went out there and told this entire team pretty much about the standards of physical fitness and what the team wants out of these players. And I feel like none other than Jack Studnicka might have exhibited the best growth from last year to this year. You could talk about the Besters, you could talk about the Millers, you could talk about a lot of guys who have improved tremendously, but Studnicka, from how poorly he was playing last season to how much of a force he made on this team's bottom 6 in the preseason, it was night and day. And I was super impressed with Studnicka and the way he was able to perform. So to see him go on waivers the other day, I was kind of freaking out. I was like, wait a minute, if he gets claimed, some team is getting a very legit bottom 6 forward that could round out his game nicely, play well along the boards, forecheck, make some nice plays. This was a really, really good player. So I'm super happy that he ends up clearing and the Vancouver Canucks dodged a bullet. But Lego, you said there's a reason as to why this went down. And yes, there is. There is a very specific reason as to why Studnicka got sent down on waivers and why this happened yesterday. It's pretty simple. It's because Carson Soucy is probably going to be out for an extended period of time. With Studnicka going down, it freed up a roster spot on the main Vancouver Canucks team that allowed them to recall Akito Hirose from the Abbotsford Canucks. This happened about 15 minutes ago, and when it comes to Hirose and his profile, hey, guess what? He's probably going to be suiting up based off of what Jeff Patterson said. Soucy not on the ice from the practice at UBC. We'll get an update from the coach afterwards. Akito Hirose also is playing in the practice at UBC. For those who wanted the update here on our guy in the AHL, he's at 0 points in 11 games played, which is admittedly not the best. At the same time, though, Akito Hirose is a guy who really impressed in this preseason as well. Even last year, when he suited up for Vancouver after signing over from the Mankato NCAA team, 3 assists, 7 games played. I really liked the decision-making that Akito Hirose exhibited with the Vancouver Canucks early on. Even Rick Tocchet went out there and said pretty much during this year's training camp and preseason, during the time that people were getting cut, that Akito Hirose has a really good hockey mind. It's just he's got to improve his physicality a little bit. The guy's 6 feet, 170, so maybe a little bit skinny, a little bit small. He could use to maybe benefit from getting some more pounds on there. But just like Studnicka, Akito Hirose is 24 years old, and he definitely has room to grow. In the AHL, the common consensus is that he's been pretty alright, so the fact that he is the first call-up for defensemen in Vancouver is not surprising. He already had a few games played this year, 2 games played, but I will say that what the Vancouver Canucks probably should focus on from here on out is not having Akito Hirose and Noah Juulsen on a pair together. I love Akito Hirose. I was a super big fan of his game last season and this year in the preseason, but yeah, Hirose Juulsen was not a good pairing. If anything, split everything up. Have Mark Friedman stepping in there, have Tyler Myers play with Hirose, have Ian Cole play with the other guy. Like, yeah, there's some distributions that need to be made to this lineup here, because having Hirose and Juulsen together would be kind of abysmal. I do not want to see that. But either way, the Vancouver Canucks recall up Akito Hirose, and what I also wanted to do in regards to talking about this is just kind of go over why this feels so good. Because the Vancouver Canucks, for the longest time, had so little depth on their blue line that whenever somebody who was a defenseman would get injured and you needed to get somebody like a Christian Willander or a Juulsen or anybody else coming in, it always sort of felt like the end of the world. But now, with the acquisitions they made, hey, Akito Hirose might not be, like, the best player in the world, but he definitely feels more so like an appropriate and acceptable NHL caliber defender, and he wasn't even the best guy in the AHL for points. Might I remind you, Akito Hirose had 0 points as a defenseman in the Abbotsford Canucks system, but based off of what we remember, he definitely was one of the better players, just in terms of the way he reads the game and how he's able to process things. So having him called up is pretty alright, but it also means that a lot of these other guys that are in the AHL and producing, actually, they have themselves a lot more opportunity to grow too. Christian Willander over a point per game. Jet Wu is at half a point a game. That guy has been largely forgotten, I feel, by most Vancouver Canucks fans in terms of prospect conversations. Cole McWard has 3 points in 13 games played. Matt Irwin is still in the AHL. Yeah, you gotta remember the Canucks signed that guy, and he is an NHL caliber defender sometimes. So this is depth. This is the Vancouver Canucks trading away 5th-round picks to get guys like Sam Lafferty and signing very talented NCAA free agents and other younger guys to fill in those gaps in the prospect pool. This is a system that works. It's the system that Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin used in Pittsburgh. You talk about all those other guys that came out of nowhere in the NCAA and became awesome Penguins. This is what they're trying to do. And now, for Akito Hirose coming out here, he actually is a pretty alright guy, and he just happens to be depth playing in the AHL, replacing a Carson Soucy who was injured from blocking that shot. Now, big RIP to me, because Carson Soucy, I did pick him up in my fantasy team. I've been saying this the entire season, but my fantasy league is so weird this year. Like, there's such a big emphasis placed on blocks and hits. Like, 1 block is equivalent to 1 assist in my league this year. So guys like Jamie Alexiak have been dominating. A lot of the Vancouver guys have been dominating. Carson Soucy has been good. I picked up Tyler Myers because I'm just kind of going with the meme Canucks team, and it's been working. I've been the best player in my league so far. I've got Eric and Branson, OEL. These guys are doing so well. But either way, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Vancouver Canucks dodging a bullet with Jack Studnicka clearing, as well as them calling up Akito Hirose to most likely replace Carson Soucy. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.